welcome to His Worship, the Mayor of Liverpool, the return of the King, Ned Mannoun. Welcome to the Digital Dialogue of Western Sydney Unfiltered.
Thank you. I think it's more like Return of the Cleaner as opposed to any other bigger titles like that.
Well, mate, you're back in the big chair at Liverpool. It's not your first rodeo. You've done this before, and through the majesty of democracy, you're back. Let's say first time it was a colourful ride, rollercoaster ride. First time as you took Liverpool from zero to hero in a way in terms of its public profile engagement. What did you learn first time round that makes you a different, maybe even better mayor second time?
Well, looking at it, and I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be back, and I can't thank people enough for that. Look, I guess looking at it, when I was elected the first time, I was 30 years old. So now I got elected and I turned 40 a few weeks later. So it's like I've kind of had like an iPhone update. Ned 3.0 versus Ned 4.0 is hopefully a bit more advanced, the same but a bit more advanced, right? Look, it looks a little bit different.
You're one of the unique mayors that you're direct elect.
Yeah, which I think it's much better, because it gives the organization the certainty, who is the mayor. It's not a deal done by the councillors, or you give me this and I'll give you that. No, this is about, hey, community, who do you want to lead the city? And I think what you see, to answer the question, it's like, getting elected the first time, there is no rule book. There is a rule book. There is a rule book.
It's there's a rule book. We know there's a rule book.
100%. But there is no job description. How do you be the mayor? What does the mayor do? So you're there saying, okay, well, I lead the city. I lead an organization of, now 900 people. A city of 200 or 1,000 people. You're working for today and you're planning for tomorrow. So a lot of it is learning. And look, 100%, like all of us, we still learn on the job. But walking in on day one, after you've had 4 years experience, you know what you need to do, right? Yeah. So I think what you'll see now is is probably more urgency, more wisdom, more knowledge, hopefully, and we just we accelerate. We don't skip a beat.
You're a Liberal blue blood in a Labor heartland area, and we saw that recently with Diley, who's sort of Liberal independent, but Liberal by background, and taking the federal seat there as well. What are you doing right that's having you carrying sort of majority vote in the public housing wards of Miller in Green Valley? What do you think is happening in Liverpool that allows this Liberal blue blood to be back as a popular elected mayor?
Well, I've got to correct you. We didn't carry a majority. We tied the polling booth in Miller, so we're still, we got to get one more vote there.
Which is a pretty remarkable result for a Liberal mayor, anyway.
Look, I think it gets down to that at the end of we're out there. We're about positivity, hope, aspiration, right? If you look at the story about what's happened in this area, generally Western Sydney, it's the migrant who's come out here with nothing. They've worked hard. They're out there. Their parents did whatever they could. They maybe started off in a little unit. They've now bought themselves a nice house. 20 years has gone past. They've had some wealth, probably paid off the mortgage. The kids are going to university. They're getting a trade. So people want to give their kids a better life, and moving away from, say, a fear in welfare dependency that is put out by some of our local members here. So it's about, no, we want to empower you. And I think, being from the community, one of the community, I think, representing the diversity that exists, people can, there is that sort of connection. But for us, I guess we got down to the battle of ideas, and it looked like we had ideas and they responded people. And interestingly enough, one could have said in 2012, maybe there was a bit of a fluke. There was a momentum because you still had the carbon tax and all these things, where we didn't have that now. We came from a standstill. We came from lockdowns. But I think people were able to say, you know what? This is the benefit of a popular mayor. We know what happened back then, right? We've seen things that really happened, but yeah, we will go for you. So I think that was that. And generally speaking, I think Western Sydney, when you look around, the Liberal vote in the federal election in Lindsay, we had a swing towards us. In Werriwa, we pretty much were line ball, and other areas we went backwards. But this area, family values, conservative, who knows? Maybe that comes into it. Maybe it's a mix of it all.
Let's look at, you mentioned those two sorts of communities in Liverpool. Let's look first at the aspirational class, the new dynamic core, the living in high-rise, multicoloured high-rise buildings. You've got pretty great plans for the other side of the river, the riverfront of Liverpool, which has always been a dream of yours, and potential for big development on the other side. And do you see the capacity to attract that executive community to Liverpool? Because you need that, don't you? To drive an economy, you need, it's not unfair to be trying to attract an executive class community to your city.
Yeah, and look, a lot of it exists now. Like we were, for example, just having lunch with a 2IC of a major bank, and he grew up in Ashcroft, right? So lived in Casula. There's a lot of great success stories that are out here, I think. But what we do need,
I should say, attract and retain, quite right.
And retain, yeah, correct. I think that's it. That's what. So yes, we need. I think what Western Sydney, what Southwest Sydney needs is more livability, right? Better livability where you want to stay out here, where you can go. We talk about this Bay Run. I keep on hearing Bay Run, Bay Run. When I got elected, I got a mind, let's go check out this Bay Run. And I went there. I said, is this what they're going on about? Chipping Northern Lakes and the George River has better than this, right? So yeah, vital is reinstating what Liverpool's founded on. It was founded on the river. So it's an amazing piece of money, whether it's the First Nations people who had that as their lifeblood, or in the new colony where you had the shipping magnate Thomas More, the shipbuilder. You had the wool sheds. Basically, we were growing all the food out here and putting it on the ships and taking it away. So
one of the great Macquarie towns. It's a riverbound Macquarie town. So does the West Invest Fund help you with that amenity aspiration? Are you putting your hand up for lots of that $5 billion into the municipality?
Indeed, and look, I think the first thing on that, I gotta have a go here. It's about equity. So the first 400 tranche that has just been handed out by the government, it was divided by 15 councils. What they did is they said, look, here's a baseline of $20 million. Then per capita, you get a bit more, you get a bit extra. What that has done now, Burwood, with what 80,000, which is probably the size of a couple of our suburbs, received $500 per capita. Liverpool received $200 per capita. Now, one would even say, why would Bird get any money for? So I think there's this scenario that keeps on happening where we keep on subsidizing, because from an economic point of view, what we're generating in tax, we're subsidizing the rest of Sydney, and that's not fair. So I feel like a bit like Western Australia here, right? But this is the reality, because we need to get more than our fair share of that fund, right? At the moment, our health outcomes aren't greatest. We have one of the highest rate of diabetes, one of the highest rate of heart disease, and you wonder why. Well, if people are spending 3 hours traveling to go to work, right, or to do stuff, to go and enjoy good amenity.
I thought it was the shawarma, but
what is it? Sorry.
I thought it was the food in the mall. So
no. That's clean. That's clean meat. We got a lot of good protein out here. But it's like, what's going on? We're sitting on our butts too long because we're out there transporting. Yeah. But so I think we need to get some of that West Invest stuff. People need to say, look, not only Liverpool but Southwest Sydney, with all this growth, right? We're not talking about putting a stadium here, but we're saying, oh, let's go put a roof on ANZ, like whatever it's called. What's it called now?
Accor Stadium.
Accor Stadium. So sorry, sponsors. Accor, my apologies. But
good members of the dialogue. You got to be nice to them.
Okay, great. Yeah, look, wonderful facility for Origin and for Grand Final, but suburban games, you gotta bring to this area. So we've put our hand up for, I think, approximately $700 million worth of projects in that. Yeah.
So Flip's other part of your community, we had the group out recently with Bill Cruz out serving the poor in Liverpool downtown, and the people you're trying to help around Miller and Cartwright. So what's the chance for those communities that aren't yet living in the shining citadels, but are still hoping to get on that aspirational trail, but they're locked in social housing, unemployment, etc. at the moment, that the other side of Liverpool? What can the council do to affect that sort of social fabric?
Well, you've got an amazing, exciting opportunities with the way we do our transportation, right? Metro government committed to doing Bankstown to Liverpool. Now, when we say Liverpool, you don't want it stopping in the CBD. If you take that train line out another 3Ks, guess what? You're in Miller, and you have an opportunity to transform that whole area, right? And it's about saying, and we've always known the whole Green Valley estate was always disconnected from the rest of the world. So here's an opportunity for us to say, you know what? Let's look at Sydney holistically, Let's not just look at Parramatta. Parramatta's an amazing success story. From 2012 to where it's gone now, I'm seeing the journey. It's an amazing success story. We should all be saying, as Team Sydney, government, private sector, everybody should be saying, let's now do that again for Liverpool and the Southwest, and let's do it even better. So the metros, the stadiums, the livability, the employment opportunities. That's how you go into those areas and you connect them. I think it's a great place to invest in those in that area. There are small wins we can achieve at the moment as well. I've had a counsellor this week helping a resident with her house because it is full of mold. The way we are treating people who are living in housing commission is third world standards. Simple as that.
You're also a flood council. All the focus has been on the Nepean Hawkesbury up around the northwest of Sydney, but let's not forget Chipping Norton and parts of the low areas of the Georges River also inundated for the third time in 4 years. We've just recommended the Prime Minister.
Sorry, Chris, third time since March.
Since March, sorry, fourth time in third time since March. Yeah. You're right. Where do you feel? Do you feel we're getting closer to a real solution? I mean, I don't know what the Warragamba Dam wall's going to do for Liverpool, whether it's a different sort of catchment. Do you have any confidence generally across, and not part across federal government generally, that we're closer to a real solution? Because apparently we can't stop it raining. We can do something about what happens when it does.
Yeah, so look, the Team Sydney says, let's lift up the Warragamba Dam. Let's do it, right? We need the most important part on the environment is the humans in that environment. That should be our first premise. From a Liverpool point of view, where those areas of Chipping Norton and Moorebank, well, we have been buying those properties with the state government for the last 40 years. So in the worst floodplain areas near Henry Lawson Drive and Bankstown Airport. So we're going through that process. So whether we could forward fund it, well, let's do it. We know there's only like 50 odd houses left, to put it in an example.
Would they compulsorily acquire eventually?
Potentially, yeah. But then once again, you're talking about $78 million, $80 million there. So we're going through it slowly. The other part of it, but the risk to human safety is, it is great there. But generally speaking, through LGA, because we're a newer council, our floodplain management is pretty good. I've got to give credit to the engineers. So we know where the water is going to go. You compare it to our flood maps, it's going to, it's there, right? It's going to happen. And I think people need to check that. But is a lot of it life-threatening? Not necessarily. So which is different than the Nepean, where the river functions differently. What is concerning, I think, where we need to take action is when you look at somewhere like Austral. Now, that's not affected by the Georges River, that's in the other catchment, but you've got an area which is farmland, which is 5-acre blocks that is transforming into, in that 5 acres, you're now getting 50 houses, a lot more concrete, a lot more roofs out there. There's no detention basins yet. The roads, so the guy with the 5 acres, or the gal, has developed their block of land. Next door, Mr. Smith wants to stay there till they die, but their road doesn't have any drainage. Right, it's in terrible conditions. We don't have the money to build that infrastructure, right? But we're waiting for the developer to do it. And even if we did fund it, right, we can't get that money back from the developer. So point of the story is, if you want to build new communities, why aren't we going out there and saying, let's forward fund this infrastructure, right? And get better communities rather than wait 20 or 30 years before this is done, because they're the safety issues that we're concerned about.
On growth, you've been fortunate enough to have 2 big whacks of federal funding into your LGA. You mentioned Moorebank, you've got the intermodal, the inland port at the east end of the electorate, and the airport at the west end of the LGA. And you're probably about to get some federal state money going into extending the metro at least to Leppington for now, maybe to Glenfield eventually, but certainly to Leppington in the short term. What have you done well to get? There's a lot of other councils saying, how come Liverpool is getting all the federal funding? I know there's some hairs on it at times, but you've been pretty good at trying to secure some of that big dollar projects.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for anyone else who wants the intermodal, they can take it. You know what I mean? So we get the pollution, right? We get the pollution from the airport. We get the pollution.
Is that got better? Like the intermodal last time around, there was a stick. Has that relationship improved? Is there a?
Oh, look, it's with the new owners. That's all. They're pretty good, but
Hughes left the building, and thank God for that. But so it's hopefully the new owners can strike a better relationship with the people of Liverpool than they've inherited.
Yeah, and it's still I think things could have been done better. They're affected by the river because you can see the river eroding their block of land. It's happening. So,
And the other end, you got the world's newest airport.
I think people need to put things in perspective, right? So, and let me give you this little example. Imagine the Rocks. You drive from the Rocks to get to Liverpool through all those different LGAs, right? You cross Henry Lawson Drive, cross the river, and you're in Liverpool. From that point to the end of Liverpool is longer than that first portion. So,
it's a horizontal LGA.
Pretty much, yeah, and a little then holes
with a bit of Holsworthy,
with the L, which makes up the L. Gives you the L shape. So we are a big area, and there's a lot of economic activity here. Like this, we'll be doing more than any other LGA by far, with Bradfield's holding in Liverpool, the airport's holding in Liverpool. But guess what? Our people, 15th Avenue hasn't been upgraded yet, and that's you've got, which is effectively a completion of Newbridge Road or Canterbury Road. So our people still have trouble getting to the airport, right? So it's not about this whole hand-holding exercise with 8 different councils. Like,
isn't the rapid bus meant to solve that? But whatever happened to the rapid bus?
Whatever happened to that? And then it's like, well, right. But then hold on, let's run a train line from Parramatta so the people from Martin Place can hop on a train quickly and get to the airport. Like that's a priority, rather than say, hold on, why we want to pick up these 50,000 houses that are being built in Austral, right? Mate,
sounds like we've still got plenty to do. Last time around, you had that wonderful little committee for Sydney. We both had committee for Liverpool. We both had something to do with you. Are you expecting to regather the good and the great and put the ambassadors back in the field with the state election coming?
Yeah, we need to 100%. We've got to go out there, be much louder, much more have a greater voice at the table, so people understand what's going on. You can't rely just on your local members of parliament. And I think what the committee for Liverpool did achieve was amazing. Through you as a governor, the people you had around there, what we were able to achieve and get out there was a plan. And I guess it's I look at your logo there, connect, shape, and deliver. You know what I mean? It was great for connecting. It great to shape the vision, and it was delivering. But then we stopped. And unfortunately, the council.
We didn't. Others did.
Right?
Yeah. Well, Nate, I think you pretty much give us indication of the dynamism you bring back. What you've learned is to keep going full bore, and good luck and Godspeed to you. It's an interesting time. Liverpool, there's marginal seats at either end with the state election coming. It's just had a bit of a wake up at the western end with Lee's between Unfiltered and Liverpool. It's a changing political dynamic. And as I said, when you're polling equal votes in the middle of housing estate, then we're rewriting political rules. But good luck and Godspeed. It's good to have you back in the chair. And Liverpool again. The rest of Western Sydney has Liverpool driving hard as it does, chasing Parramatta, Campbelltown chasing Liverpool, Bankstown chiming in. There's a dynamism, and Liverpool's such an important part. Now the second biggest city in Western Sydney, and I think about to be 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, whatever it is. When you succeed this, what will have changed at the end of your term? What's the legacy now you're going for?
Look, the challenge is we've only got this is the shortest term in history, 2 years and 9 months. We're 6 months into it, so we got a couple of years left. So for us, it's about really transforming the organization, right? I'm trying to do the whole Jurgen Klopp thing. You know what I mean? We have a different style of play. For us, if I can get this, our $90 million wage bill, it's about people. If this organization is fully functioning, where people want to work for Liverpool Council, right? Where they want to aspire, they want to be here because they're part of a vision, and their vision is working for the people of today and tomorrow. That's going to be my legacy, right? But ideally, I got to say it, right? It's while we think for the future, I think my view is I've got to go back to the community in 2 years' time and said, let's keep on going. We started the change, we're transforming, but I will have you down in the river having a cup of coffee, enjoying in a couple of years' time. That's for sure.
All the ball. Right, well done. Thank you. Welcome back, and more power to you, Liverpool, going forward. And if you can do as well as the namesake football team in the EPL, even better.
Lovely.
Go Reds.
Chris, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Your Worship.
All the best.